let's start the streaming and talk about what's happening.
Okay.
And here we go. This is
Oh, I'm
Office
doing it?
365 Message Center. Oh crap, hang on. I've got to turn down the volume. Where are we? Doom, 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 doom. Start menu over Daniel's face and volume mixer open now. Turning down Google Chrome. Volume mixer down. Now we won't have echoes. We're going to start the show right now. Ha 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 ha.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. The Office 365 Message Center. The week that is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Dang, I'm still getting echoes, but we'll just have to put up with that for now.
Yeah.
Skadoosh. Yeah, well, that's kind of one of the items, isn't it? Anyway, other things in the show, some updates to SharePoint lists and SharePoint document libraries, some stuff about capacity planning, and what's in a name change around the Message Center. This is Office 365. Well, it wasn't. The week that was. Come on. We're back. And we're in an identity crisis right now, aren't we, Dan? We'll get to the name change. Good now, Phil. Good now, everyone. What do we call ourselves now?
I don't know. The Gang of Two. And some people watching are going, "What are they talking about, Daryl? Why are they having an identity crisis?" So I don't know. The people that have been following us, today is the number 50 episode.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. But people would probably remember that this time last year, the whole regarding 365 team was maybe going by something else.
Yeah, it was Office 365.
That's right. And so we kind of saw, kind of behind the scenes, this is kind of what happened in the background. We saw the changing that Microsoft was making, right? That Office 365 was this big thing that Microsoft to bet on and was winning and doing a great job. And so that's why we were creating content. But then we saw this change that it's bigger than Office 365, right? There are going to be pieces that plug in that are not necessarily Office 365, but we want to talk about, and that we feel like have a piece, and it's a piece of this puzzle. And so then came regarding 365. It wasn't about Office 365 specifically anymore, right?
I can I tell you that was a lot of hassle changing that name about a month out before Ignite.
I remember the meeting
on Medium. Yeah.
Yes, I remember we had a meeting, right? And we were like, well, we had several, but we had a meeting, and it was, are we going to do this? And it was, yes, we're going to do it. It was like, oh, that's a lot of work, but okay, here we go.
Let's just go through the pain now before we get a whole lot of exposure at Ignite.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are, a new year. 50 episodes into our Office 365 Message Center, the week that was show, which has a very long title, by the way. But and one of our announcements we need to talk about this week is the changing of the Office 365 Message Center to being, the Admin Center, and it being renamed away from calling it the Office 365 Admin Center.
Should we put it out to people in the chat? Let's just have a quick look. Oh, hang on, I've got to do the thing. We'll check in on them and pull them on the screen soon. But we've got Sandy, Jeff, Tony, Sarah, Phil. What do you think, people? Putting it out as a vote. I see there's a suggestion there about regarding M365. It's gonna get goofy soon for business, maybe.
Yeah. For business. Yeah. Yes. And
That's
education.
Right.
And
That's
yes.
right. Hey, look. I guess let's just start cracking on with the messages, and we'll check back in. It might give me some time in the background to to add the chat setup there. What's our first message in the center? Apart from this great big one there.
Yeah,
Boom.
it's the reader role, right?
Oh yeah, that one's definitely. I mean, I know it's certainly relevant for a project that I'm on. Being able to give people just that role to read messages from the message center. Imagine you've got a person who's in your team who doesn't have to have admin rights to change things in Office 365, but you want to make part of their role responsible for checking the message center, developing the comms around it, starting to develop some of the strategy around it. You could even push this out as a non-IT role related task, right?
To communications or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is good. I know that it has been talked about and was coming for some time. Message Center role permits your users to access the Message Center and the Office 365 Message Center. So obviously this message was written before the Admin Center changed its name. Read only.
Well,
access.
which we know that happens, right? So they write these things up well in advance. But yeah,
targeted release, first release was another good example.
Yeah.
They will complete the worldwide rollout of this in mid-June. Yeah. Worldwide. Is there anything you need to do?
Yep.
What do you need to do? There is nothing you need to do. You don't even have to tell your users.
But isn't there? I mean,
no.
Again, we're back to what's the whole purpose of the Message Center, and it's to help you prepare for changes, not just changes to what you're using, but also new stuff. And this is a new thing, right? This reader role. What is the thing you need to prepare? Well, they say nothing, but that's not true. We here at the show firmly believe you need to start thinking about and planning on how or if you would use this. Are you going to use this in your organization? Do you need to bring someone in as this role? Then yes, you need to plan for this. If you're not, then that's fine as well. But you do need to think about it. So that's my 2 cents on this. The other thing I wanted to mention is about the formatting. I know it has nothing to do with this announcement, but the formatting of this announcement, someone went crazy with the carriage returns. Wow. There's so much space in here, maybe it makes it a little more readable, but if you scroll up, there's like 4 or 5 lines there. There's 3, 2. See how much? There's a lot of space there, a lot of white space. Some would call that wasted space. But anyway, that's interesting because you don't have you have dismissed the other ones, but this feels very. There's not a lot of information here in this first bit, and if you go back to the one right before this, which would be the age requirements for Office add-ins. There was this, there's several sentences, and then how does this affect me? There's a lot of, words. Just not a lot of words here. But anyway.
So, formatting.
I don't know if that has any bearing on anything.
It's about readability, and if we're inviting people in with this new role, come on now. Hey, I finally got the live chat going, so we'll just check in on our handy peeps there. So we've got a lot of support there for keeping on going. Like Tony says, look, all he needs is us, which is that's sweet, that's awesome. We'll keep you up to date. You don't need another role.
That's right.
Just send them here. Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that.
That's cool. Jeff, Sandy, Tony. Yeah, so cool. What are we called now? We'll check in. I'm pretty sure we'll have to change it to M, or just drop the name at the front and just call us the 365 Message Center. That makes it uniquely us, right? Because it's regarding 365.
Yeah. Maybe. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But Phil says open it up in the mobile app. It displays the HTML tag. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm opening up the Message Center. Man. In my mobile right now, and I'm going to see, although it's spinning and spinning and spinning. So
that
there
does
we go.
That.
Okay. So which one are we on? Oh,
The Message Center reader
the
role.
reader role. Wow. This is interesting. Yeah.
Tags?
Well, I don't have well, I have brackets, and I don't know if you can see.
Markup language?
Yeah, it kind of had brackets for the
Headings.
It really is not readable at all on the mobile because it's all one paragraph. It's like, and I'm sorry for the low tech. Like, I could have screen shared my phone and showed. I'm sorry, but this is quick and dirty. We're just but it's all one paragraph. So great.
Anyway, enough of formatting, people. Come on now. Let's get on to another message. The planned capacity balancing maintenance. I found this one interesting because you didn't have it. I do, and it's I get it. We're planning some maintenance to shuffle things around on SharePoint Online, increase the data center capacity, and we'll be conducting a balancing operation during the month of June for my data center. Again, it's highlighting that these messages.
It is for you.
It's for me. Now, what I found interesting about this was, I'm based in the Australian tenants, so that's Melbourne and Sydney. Yes, I am. Funny that. I did start my Office 365 journey out of Singapore and Hong Kong in the Asia Pacific data center. Now, when you go through to the additional information, you go to aka.ms/move, and that's familiar to me, but only because I checked there about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Because as we scroll down, the additional information, is telling me about moving data centers from APAC to Australia in March 2015. Yep.
Yeah, that's 3 years ago. Over 3 years.
Now, is there anything additional here that they might have added to the page about data?
It hasn't been updated since March of this year, it says. At the very top of the document. So I don't know if...
that's because they've added France. Right?
Right.
So, all good. Probably given us some basic information about what happens in a move. But
so here's the question I have for you, Daryl, though, is it that this page hasn't been updated, or is it that the message in the Message Center is some phantom message?
No, I think it's a legit message. It's
okay.
It has been said that the popularity of Office 365 in this part of the world, Microsoft 365 in this part of the world, has put some capacity demands on the data center alongside Azure. And so this would be the response to that. So that's cool. It means we've got more space. And, look, the other thing is that they've given us a whole lot more space in SharePoint Online. As part of out-of-the-box space. So it's all about capacity.
Well, I think it was interesting. A certain executive from Microsoft came to my SharePoint Saturday, Nashville, SharePoint Saturday 2 years ago, I think it was. And he was telling me on the flight to Nashville, he had to, and I think they were using... What kind of workflow? Were they using Flow or they're using SharePoint? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He had to purchase space in a data center. Like he had to increase SharePoint space. So he's buying servers on the way to Nashville. I thought it was interesting. Look into that. At his level, he was having that was the level as to, well, we need more SharePoint servers. Okay, so we're buying more servers. I thought it was interesting at that time. Wait, aren't these just Azure servers? So shouldn't it be, hey, we need more SharePoint space doing a requisition, or saying, hey, Azure people, we need more space? But yeah, it was at his level doing that purchasing. So it was interesting.
Yeah, there are still physical servers involved. There are still containers involved. And potentially, hey, let's just branch out just a brief bit. Did you see the news on...
You're going to the seas. You're going to the seas.
Aye, we're going to the seas. And I can't really do I don't know why I slipped into pirate language instead of Scottish accents. But yes, they've sunk some in Scotland. I know they were trying this a bit earlier,
Yep.
but putting them offshore, and they look basically like big. I would call them LPG or natural gas cylinders. They're quite large and round.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
For pressure, I guess, under the sea, of course.
That's right. Yep. Like a submarine.
Cooling is taken care of because of the depth. What else was the other advantages? You can distribute them more easily.
Yeah, they were saying that, for a project to get a data center up, you're looking at a much longer time than traveling, having these on hand and just going, we need a data center off the coast of Bloop. West Africa somewhere. Bloop. Hook it up and you're done.
Okay. I got to show you a little primary schooler trick that I used to,
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it would definitely do that.
Yep. Yeah. Keep your straight face. I mean, data center, mate. I'm not in another room. Anyway, yeah, that's enough of that. So, data center, new capacity, we're done. I don't know.
It is a great idea. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. They asked, well, wait a minute. You're using the sea to cool your data center, but doesn't that increase the temperature of the sea? And the answer was, well, it only increases it by 0.001 or I don't know what. But I think it's very interesting that people are really worried about global warming and the water temperature rising, and now we're thinking about putting data centers in the water, increasing the temperature. So I'm not saying it's a one-to-one thing, and some people would say, well, above water data centers, they increase temperature and they affect the environment even worse. I don't know. I'm just saying it's just interesting, that hey, we're sinking data centers to increase not to increase the sea temperature, but it will anyway.
Yeah, I think as they look into this, I guess closing that one before we move on. The thing about spinning up data centers in different locations, countries, is that it does take a lot of regulatory challenges and finding some space and building all that. That potentially a country like us, New Zealand, we depend on ours in Australia, but this could make it easier to deploy to other countries that are near water, and we could get our own data center. So maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. What do we got
next? No, wait. Next. SharePoint libraries.
Do we? Yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. We did.
Let me talk about just real quick. This is a update to SharePoint Document Library. The modern document libraries in SharePoint Online. This is talking about how the behavior of when you upload a document and when you when you go to new to create a document, how those experiences are different, and they're trying to bring those together now. And specifically, this is calling out that when a new file is created, by going to the document library and clicking on the new button, when you have metadata that is required in your document library, the file will no longer be checked out to you. And we've been dealing with this issue in SharePoint for a very long time. This is the no checked in version of a document. And so if someone says, hey, I created a document, it's not out there, and you're like, did you check it in? And of course they say yes, right? But as an admin, you can go in the document library and see, all the versions of a document, or all the documents that have no checked in version. This is talking about just kind of removing that as as an issue in your document library, so other people can actually see it. And you mentioned, and you made a great point. We were talking briefly about this, that this helps you get collaborating quicker, right? Rather than having to wait on people to check it in. And this goes along with the library experience where the library, you don't have to refresh the library for new documents to show up or for documents to show that they've changed metadata on documents. So This is great. This is great. This is just, this might be something little that, people might see, this is little, but it's, I think, a big thing in conjunction with all the other things that are happening with the experience with document libraries and lists.
I think it also relates to a message a week or two back with versioning and how we get that auto saving co-authoring thing that bumps up the versioning very quickly. That sort of change was something that you soapboxed about and said, look, you shouldn't go and change the existing settings that I've put in place. But this again. Today's message is about making sure that it's one less barrier for people to understand and before they can start collaborating, checking in, and working on documents together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, all right. We have this one we've talked about. And look, the only other thing that we need to say, introducing the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, is you will notice... you probably won't. Squint your eyes, everyone. Look at the minute pixels in your YouTube screen and the address bar. My morning this morning started out as portal.office.com/admin portal/home #/message center.
Yep.
And when I clicked on the admin.microsoft.com link, that took me through to admin.microsoft.com/admin portal/homepage message center. Any other changes? Not at this stage. It's a name change.
Yeah, I think it's the URL is changed. The label for what the site is has changed on your other side as well. So for everybody, it's labeled Microsoft 365 Admin Center.
Yep.
But I will say, and I don't know if it's because I'm, I have the targeted release or whatever turned on. But when I went to portal.office.com to log in, and I clicked on the admin button, right, with all my apps, and I clicked on admin, it took me to admin.microsoft.com. So I don't know if that's, it's already rolled out to me and that's why, but I thought that was an interesting experience, and that's not your experience. So
it redirected you. And I think you and I were having some musings about this. We know that Microsoft 365 is Office 365, it's Windows 10, it's the Enterprise Mobility and Security package, which kind of includes the Intune stuff. Are we going to see Intune come back into Microsoft 365 into this admin center, or is it going to sit in Azure where it's a lot of work's been put into making it sit there? I think it'll stay where it is. That's really the main piece for me that would start to make this feel like a holistic message center, or rather admin center, because it's about controlling Windows and controlling devices, and we've got some of the security stuff here. Yeah.
You said the D word, devices. I think you're right, but just like Azure is this, Azure is the kind of underlying the thing of all of this, right? You're talking about managing your devices via Azure management tools. You're talking about managing infrastructure based upon Azure management tools. Office 365 runs on Azure. So, when I looked at this and thought, okay, that's not surprising to me at all that they are changing this name to Microsoft 365. I would see, and I don't know I'm not privy to any information, but in regards to this, but I don't see why they won't continue to bring the Azure and the Microsoft 365 admin centers together. I'm not saying that will be in one interface per se, but they're so intertwined that, and when you talk about Microsoft 365, you're exactly right. You're talking about Office 365, but you're also talking about managing devices. You're talking about the mobility. You're talking about Windows 10, and So they just named this the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, but are we administrating everything that's in Microsoft 365 from here?
No.
Nope. And so would it in the future, are they going to make changes to do, I don't know. I could see it, and I think they probably will, if I had to guess. But anyway.
At any rate, in this intermediary stage, we will still go to two different places. There is a shortcut that takes you through to Intune content and security kind of content, or that's Azure Active Directory, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you could say that this is the starting. Well, it still is the starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We have a couple more to knock off before we talk about things that we have seen that aren't in the Message Center. Your SharePoint modern lists. So go ahead. Take that one.
No, it's and this is something that we've been talking about for a little while. We talked about it at SharePoint Conference. Being able to bringing that modern experience and support to existing lists and list usage types. So there have been, in previously, if you use certain list like issue tracking list, or you did some things to your list that many did, you could not use the modern experience for that list. But now they're bringing the issue tracking list, the contacts list, as well as the custom list in datasheet view. So when you create a custom list, you can say, I want to create it in datasheet view rather than just the standard view. And so if you did that, you previously could not use the modern experience. But now having the modern UI support for those lists, again, and I said this for the document libraries, this is just another step of bringing that modern experience throughout the SharePoint lists and libraries, and here we have that additional step. So
does this make this modernizing of the datasheet view, does that make the copy from Excel directly into datasheet view? You remember that magic from the SharePoint conference? And it brought across all the formatting too?
Yeah.
Cool.
I believe so. I was saying as in I remember that. As to answer your question whether it does, I believe so. I believe that's what this is going to be enabling us to do. So it's great. I think this, and I just had a conversation with a client last week about, why is this classic and why aren't we using modern everything? And I think that's what, if Microsoft had waited and said, previously, they were in these 3-year or whatever year cycles, right? They would have dropped modern on us, and it would have had everything. Now, we may still be waiting on it, right? But now we're kind of in this transition. We have modern, we have classic, and it's trying to transition all of those things. And so that's kind of where we're in. And so be looking forward to for more of these kind of announcements about lists and libraries being improved.
Tell you who will have their finger on the pulse. Tracy the Cupcake Vanderskaife with her Microsoft 365 around the world, or one a day. I'm sure she will come across this as soon as it's released and give us a quick 5-minute demo. So do check out that playlist as well. She's a champion. So that's it from that list. There was a couple of things that we noticed this week. I know that there's always things changing. And I meant to also look up this interesting conversation too in the tech community. There was an announcement that who wrote the blog post? Mark Cashman, of course, brilliant man. But there was some pretty coolly tricky questions that were down the bottom there. See if I can look it up when Dan starts talking about the Teams announcement.
Great transition there, Daryl. So one thing that is not in the Message Center that I think is is in the June roundup announcement on the tech community. One of those things, Microsoft Teams June roundup was being able to copy other teams to start new teams, and right. So it's kind of basically temporalizing. Anyway, creating teams, and so you'll be able to say, I want my team name, and here are the things in my team I want, the channels and the tabs and such. So I'll be able to say which team, you'll point to which team you want to be as the template. And then it'll say, okay, here are the channels and everything about that team. Now select all the things that you want to have for your team. So I actually, I love this idea of it not being two things. One is I don't have to create a team's template. So I don't have to say, take a team and then say, build it out and then say, okay, here's my team, capture it, and then publish it to everybody. That's what we have to do in SharePoint, and I don't really like it. We don't have to. There's PNP ways to not do that way, but that's what we've had to do in the past. Because what happens when you want to update that template? Well, you have to create a site based on that template, make your updates, and then create yet another template, and then publish. It just, in the manageability. Mm-hmm. And so I like that piece, but I also like the piece of I can pick and choose. I don't have to get everything. It's not that I say, I want to take this site as a template. Well, then I don't want that channel, I don't want that tab. I want to change things. There's not a whole lot of work. You can just choose what you want. And so I really like this, and I would, bringing this kind of temporalizing, it just doesn't sound right, but maybe I don't know. Wait, Sarah's in the chat. She would know these things, right? She's corrected my words before. Anyway, I like that way because I want this to come to other services. It'd be great to say, hey, there's a SharePoint site. I want all of the SharePoint stuff that it has, except for this and this and this, and then it just creates a new site. That's kind of what PNP gives us, but it's more developer.
I got to cut to this comment from Dean Gross. This is pretty cool, and I wholeheartedly agree, Dean. Can this template leave the wiki tab off, please?
Right. I don't know.
Templatizing.
Maybe not.
Look, I haven't seen any improvements to it. I use the OneNote as far as wikis go and storing knowledge. It was a smart, interesting thing to try out, but please take it off the template. I'm pretty keen on the template side of things as well. Hey, so I found that article, and let's just push our faces over the other side.
We're down to the last few moments.
We are the last. So apart from that Teams change, we also are seeing cloud recording, and so our business is already making use of that. That's pretty sweet. You're in a team. Yes. You click record. Your meeting is available. You can view it then directly from the team. Though you will get slightly different experiences where you are accessing Teams from. If you're in the browser, sweet as it opens up Stream. If you're in Teams on your desktop, sometimes it seems you have to still log in to Stream just to see it. If you're in the mobile, then you're going to get pushed over to a web page and you have to log into Stream. But anyway, so this year, just finishing off, there was modernizing your SharePoint team sites by connecting to an Office 365 group. Good news, taking those sites, modernizing them, and attaching Office 365 groups, and you get all the groups goodness. So that Mark expands on. Do go on the tech community rather, and
wow,
he always covers off the frequently asked questions. But if you scroll on down, you can get some pretty interesting questions and curly ones thrown there, such as when a group member is added to a team, and that team is, or rather the SharePoint site is attached to an Office 365 group, can we just give them contribute permissions and not edit so that they can't poke around and play and break the site? Good call. There's some good challenges there and thoughts around that.
Sure.
Always go to the message. Damn it, the tech community. Because it does have some really good discussions around the tech that's coming out, and you'll get opinions, you'll get real life stories, you'll find people like Dean Gross and Phil and all sorts of others that are bringing their real world experiences and challenging the norm, being a good customer and saying, no, that's not what we want, this is what we want. You'll also find Microsoft in there too. So that was What have we decided on, people? Are we called the Microsoft Message
No,
Center?
we haven't
365
decided.
Message Center. Let's just
There we
go with that.
Yeah, there we go.
365 Message Center, the week that we changed our name. And our 50th episode. Thanks everyone for joining
50.
us. Hashtag 50. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Not that button, this one.